Welcome to a Legendarium special about the World State, a history of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. In the comments section, please let me know if you think the world, imagined by Aldous Huxley, sounds good or if it sounds like a waking nightmare. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, works of speculative fiction tended to be optimistic. After all, new technology meant people lived longer and more prosperous lives than ever before. However, the long peace of 19th century Europe ended with World War I, the Russian Revolution, and then the Great Depression. Suddenly, the future did not look so bright. In 1924, the same year that Joseph Stalin took power in the Soviet Union, a Russian-born writer published We in the United States. This novel depicted a future world in which the party state planned out every detail of a person's day, from the clothes they wore to who they met. Before creating his most famous work, Aldous Huxley's early novels like Chrome Yellow, Antic Hay, and Those Barren Leaves were parodies of the avant-garde communities of the 1920s. When Huxley began work on Brave New World, he imagined a parody of utopian literature, which imagined a perfect world. After all, by the 1930s, the idea of a perfect world looked rather absurd. Brave New World is often thought to be inspired by We, though this remains up for debate. In any case, Huxley's Brave New World depicts a world state which is set in the year 2540 AD, though his characters call it 632 AF. That means 632 years after Ford, namely Henry T. Ford, the American businessman who began running off vast fleets of cars off assembly lines. Since the first Model T Ford rolled out of the plant on October 1st, 1908, that means Brave New World is set during the year 2540. Despite being a businessman who did little to challenge Orthodox Christianity, the founders of the world state would one day treat Ford as a messiah for his efficiency and his ability to produce the same thing over and over. By 632 AF, the highest cast members, or resident world controllers, are called your Fordship, perhaps a parody of your lordship. People celebrate Ford's Day and make the sign of the T on their stomach, as Catholics once crossed themselves. About 23 years later, in the year 1931, a Polish boy named Ruben fell asleep while listening to a broadcast of a speech by George Bernard Shaw in English. By the time he woke up, Ruben, despite speaking no English, recited parts of the speech. When his bewildered parents notified the family doctor, who happened to speak English, the doctor notified the medical press. Thus, Ruben's overnight learning led to the discovery of sleep teaching, or hypnopedia. While central to the world state, Ford's assembly lines and hypnopedia did not have an immediate effect. Indeed, it seems that in Huxley's universe, as in our own, the 20th century saw epidemic disease, war, and social unrest. These horrors led to the deaths of millions and suffering among hundreds of millions. To change things for the better, powerful interests and international elites chose to experiment with hypnopedia, artificial gestation, and a caste system to restore peace at any price. Hypnopedia proved especially useful because while it did not teach practical skills, it proved adept at emotional manipulation. However, a biologically engineered cage did not appeal to many, which triggered another round of fighting called the 9 Years' War, around 2058 AD or 150 after Ford. It seems the world state fully came into being during this time and drastically re-engineered human society. An intense propaganda campaign began, including the suppression of all books published before 150 AF, including the Bible. All crosses on Christian churches had their tops cut off to make them into T's, to honor Ford's Model T. This tells us where the society is heading. Religion, Shakespeare, museums, and even families. In one example, the revered Westminster Abbey is turned into Westminster Abbey Cabaret, filled with dancing girls. As the centuries passed, even the concept of parenthood started to seem strange and frightening to people. But the world state's greatest triumph came around 165 AF, when 6 years of pharmaceutical research produced Soma, the perfect drug. Soma solved the problem of old age, and people could now retain the mental and physical character of youth throughout their life. Best of all, whenever people started to feel depressed or unhappy about the world, they simply took some Soma and entered chemically induced bliss. The controllers who govern the world have maximized human happiness by using advanced technology to shape and control society. People are no longer born and raised by families. They are grown in bottles and brainwashed in their sleep during childhood. In this way, the citizens of the world state are conditioned to be happy with their place in society and the work they are assigned. No one has any mother or father or family, simply a group they are conditioned alongside. From an early age, hypnopedia conditions them to love their role and dislike the thought of doing something else. Every citizen belongs to a biologically engineered caste, ranging from highly intelligent and physically strong alphas to epsilons, who are described as diminutive semi-morons. Lower caste people are produced in batches of more than 100 identical twins and live their whole lives alongside their duplicates. This explains the world state's reverence for Henry Ford. He mass-produced cars, and they mass-produce people. Outside work hours, world state citizens attend strictly regulated and scheduled social activities like solidarity services and Ford's Day. They never spend any time alone except when they sleep. The lack of time for thought keeps them occupied and docile. Curiously, Mustafa Mond, the resident world director, is given a chance to actually defend the order he preserves. He says, "Our Ford himself did a great deal to shift the emphasis from truth and beauty to comfort and happiness. Mass production demanded the shift. Universal happiness keeps the wheels steadily turning. Truth and beauty can't." In short, this is a society that has created peace by abolishing freedom. It has done away with creativity, but created stability. Is this worth the price? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks for joining me in this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.